The silver palace of the Alarian dominion floated above a blue-green world like a frozen star. Its towers were made of crystal that caught the light of a nearby sun and threw it back like fire. This was not a place built for humans. It was built to make anyone who entered feel small. Commander Elias Kane walked through the main hall of the palace with his head held high. His dark Terran uniform stood out against the flowing white robes of the Alarian nobles. He knew they were watching him, measuring him, waiting for the human to stumble or sweat. But Elias had walked through burning trenches, stormed alien bunkers, and sat in war councils where planets lived or died with a single word. A crystal palace would not make him shake. Behind him, 2 Terran Marines stood at attention. Their boots were clean, their shoulders straight. The Dominion may have forced humanity to sign an armistice, but they would not get submission. Not from him. Not today. At the far end of the hall, a throne floated in the air. A young woman sat on it, her skin pale gold and eyes burning like twin suns. A crown of silver metal curved around her head, sharp like blades. This was Princess Saravine of Alaris, the one who ended the war with a single brutal strike against the Terran fleet. The one called the Star's Daughter by her people. When Elias reached the center of the hall, he stopped. A long white carpet stretched between him and the throne. Nobles whispered to each other in their musical alien language, some smirking, some sneering. They expected him to bow. He did not. A soft bell rang through the air. The princess rose from the throne with the smooth grace of a predator. "Commander Elias Kane of the Terran Union," she said. Her voice echoed, soft but strong. "The war is over. You are the first of your kind to step into this hall in peace." Elias answered in a calm voice. "Peace is what humanity agreed to. Let us hope it lasts." A ripple of soft laughter moved through the nobles. She smiled, not kindly. "Hope," she said. A fragile word. The lights above dimmed slightly as attendants brought a glowing silver sphere between them. It was the treaty core, a device that recorded every promise made between their species. Its presence meant everything said here would be carved into history. Then Saravine's expression changed. She straightened, her chin lifting with the quiet arrogance of a queen, and she said the words that froze the entire hall. "By Alarian right of dominion, the victor may claim the bravest of the defeated. Commander Elias Kane, you will share my bed tonight." The hall fell silent. Even the glowing sphere seemed to pause. 100 alien eyes turned to the human standing at the center of the white carpet. A few nobles leaned forward with hungry smiles. Others whispered behind their sleeves, their voices like rustling leaves. For them, this was not romance. This was a display of power, a tradition used for centuries to show who ruled and who obeyed. The 2 Marines behind Elias stiffened, but he raised a hand slightly to keep them calm. His mind worked fast. He had read the Alarian customs. Sharing the bed was not a private act of love. It was a public contest of endurance, wit, and will. A trial. If he accepted and failed, the Dominion could demand new terms in the treaty. If he refused, humanity would lose face in front of every Alarian house. Saravine waited, her golden eyes locked on his. She expected fear. She expected shame. Elias gave her neither. He took a step forward, slow and deliberate. His boots made a solid sound on the marble floor, cutting through the whispers. Then he tilted his head, just enough to make it clear he was not a servant. His voice came out low, steady and clear. "Then I hope," Elias said, "your bed is built to survive a human." The hall erupted. Some nobles gasped loudly. Others laughed in disbelief. A few even clapped. But Saravine, she froze for a heartbeat, not because she was angry, but because this human had just answered her public challenge not with fear, but with a counterstrike of his own. A verbal punch wrapped in calm. Slowly, a sharp smile spread across her face. It was not friendly, but it was interested. "We shall see," she said. "I look forward to the test." The silver sphere pulsed, locking the words into the treaty record. Whatever happened tonight, it would be remembered by both species forever. The ceremony ended, but the air in the palace grew heavier. The humans were escorted to their guest wing, but Elias knew the alien nobles were not done with him. This was not just a test of him. It was a test of the entire Terran Union. In the privacy of the guest chamber, Elias stood by the wide, transparent wall, looking at the stars. His Marine lieutenant, Harper, paced behind him like a nervous dog. Sir, she can't be serious, Harper muttered. They can't just claim someone like that. Elias didn't turn around. They can. It's their right. We agreed to stand under their laws for the treaty. But, sir, it's a trap. I know. He finally turned. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. This is how they break their enemies. Not with guns. With rituals. With pride. They humiliate us, make us bow, make us look weak in front of the galaxy. And then they control everything, Harper clenched his fists. So what do we do? Elias looked back at the stars. We don't break. Meanwhile, in a high tower above the palace, Saravine dismissed her servants and stood by her own window. The human's words still echoed in her mind. Then I hope your bed is built to survive a human. She had seen many prisoners, many so-called heroes. They had all flinched, all hesitated, all begged, but not this one. Saravine touched the silver edge of her crown and frowned. Strange creature, she whispered to herself. Her advisor, an older alien with eyes like glass beads, entered quietly. Princess, he said, bowing. Was that wise? This ritual, it was meant for humiliation. But this human does not play the same game. Saravine smiled slightly. That is what makes it interesting. The sun began to set over the alien world. The palace lights shifted from white to gold, bathing the halls in warm light. Everywhere Elias walked, alien eyes followed him. Whispers slid between the walls like snakes. The human will break. No Terran can endure the bed of dominion. He is only flesh. Elias walked as if he couldn't hear them. But he heard every word. And it only made his spine straighter. At the door to the royal wing, a pair of alien guards in silver armor stopped him. They were tall, easily 7 feet, and their skin shimmered like moonlight. One lowered his spear. Human, the guard said in accented Terran. The rite begins soon. Once you enter, there is no leaving until dawn. I know, Elias said. The other guard tilted his head. Most fear this night. Elias met his gaze without blinking. Most aren't me. The chamber of the rite was like nothing he had seen. A vast room of glowing stone, strange floating orbs casting soft light. In the center stood an enormous structure that was half throne, half bed, designed not for comfort but for ceremony. Above it, an ancient crest of the Dominion burned with silver light. Saravine was already there. She wore a long robe of deep blue, decorated with gold threads that traced star patterns across the fabric. Her crown was gone, replaced by a simple circlet of silver. Without the throne or the crown, she looked less like a queen and more like a storm waiting to break. Commander Kane, she said, welcome to the bed of dominion. He walked to the edge of the platform, every step slow and steady. Quite a place, he said. I've slept in worse. Her golden eyes narrowed just slightly. Do not confuse this with your human rituals. This is not about pleasure. It is about strength, endurance, honor. I know, Elias said. That's why I'm here. For a heartbeat, silence filled the room. 2 species stood face to face. 2 cultures collided like ships in deep space. Then Saravine extended her hand. Then let the rite begin. Elias took it. The palace bells rang across the towers. Outside, alien nobles gathered around viewing chambers. They expected a broken human before sunrise. They expected to see their princess stand above a defeated man. But Elias Kane had faced worse than alien rituals. And Saravine was about to learn something the galaxy had forgotten. Humans don't bow. Humans endure. Humans fight. The chamber was silent except for the slow, soft hum of the glowing orbs that floated in the air. The bed of dominion stood at the center, a wide platform made of white stone and black glass. Its edges shimmered with moving silver symbols, ancient Alarian language. The walls were round, smooth, and glowed faintly blue, giving the room the quiet feeling of deep space. Commander Elias Kane stood on one side of the platform. Princess Saravine stood on the other. The rite had begun. This was no ordinary ritual. In Alarian culture, sharing the bed did not mean intimacy. It was a trial of mind and will, a night-long contest that tested courage, wit, endurance, and control. The victor gained honor. The loser, shame. The nobles of Alarian royalty watched from a separate viewing hall through translucent screens. Every word, every gesture was being seen. For the princess, it was meant to be easy. Humans were expected to falter. That was how this tradition always ended, but tonight was not like other nights. Saravine raised her chin slightly. Her golden eyes reflected the glowing runes on the floor. "The first challenge," she said. "The Elixir of Tides." 2 attendants entered the room silently, carrying a long silver tray. On it sat 2 tall crystal cups filled with a shimmering blue drink. The Elixir of Tides was not a poison. It was a hallucinogenic drink used in the ritual. It made the mind swim, twisted visions, and forced the drinker to face their fears. Most Terrans who tried it could not stay standing for more than an hour. The attendants placed the cups in front of them and stepped back. Elias looked down at the glowing drink. It moved like liquid stars. He knew what it was. He had read about it during treaty negotiations. Many human officers who drank it became dizzy and confused. Some fainted. It was designed to make aliens feel powerful. Saravine lifted her cup with both hands. "You may drink," she said softly, as if she already knew the outcome. Elias smiled just a little. "Ladies first." She drank it in one smooth motion and set the cup down. Then she waited. She expected him to hesitate, but he lifted his cup like a man raising a toast at a bar. "To a very strange evening," he said, and then he drank every last drop. The liquid burned cold down his throat. It felt like swallowing a storm. His vision blurred for half a second, then cleared. The walls shimmered like water, but he had faced worse. Years ago, during the siege of Titan, he had gone 3 days without food, water, or sleep while enemy ships rained plasma fire above. Compared to that, this was a carnival trick. Saravine tilted her head. He was supposed to stagger. He didn't. "Not bad," Elias said calmly. "Tastes like bad vodka." "Vodka?" she asked, something from home. "Stronger than this." A ripple of whispers passed through the nobles in the viewing hall. Already the human had passed the first challenge. The second challenge came after an hour. The runes on the platform shifted and a voice echoed through the chamber. It was the ancient AI spirit of the bed, used to control the ritual. Challenge 2, the Riddles of Fire. The walls of the chamber brightened to orange. Floating orbs surrounded them, each showing a line of alien script. It was a test of intelligence and cultural knowledge. The AI would ask 10 riddles. Whoever failed to answer would lose points in the right. Saravine smiled. "This is where most humans fall." The AI began to speak. Riddle 1. What burns but does not consume, moves but does not walk? Elias thought for a moment. He remembered his training, the language studies, the endless nights reading alien files. "Light," he said. The orb glowed green. "Correct." Saravine raised an eyebrow. Riddle 2. What breathes without lungs and roars without a mouth? Elias let out a slow breath. "Wind." Green again. She answered hers correctly too, of course. She was a princess, trained since birth to dominate this ritual. But as the riddles went on, something strange happened. Elias kept up. He answered alien riddles as if they were human ones, and sometimes when the AI presented a question from human culture, Saravine hesitated. Not long, but enough for the nobles watching to murmur. On the 7th riddle, the AI asked in a deep voice, Riddle 7. What belongs to everyone, yet is taken by no one? Saravine frowned. This was a human riddle. She had read human files but never trained with them deeply. What is this nonsense? She muttered. Elias answered softly. Tomorrow. Green. The alien nobles shifted in their seats. Saravine's fingers curled slightly. She was not angry, not yet. But she had not expected this. On the 10th and final riddle, they answered at the same time. Both correct. The AI's voice boomed, round complete. No victor, no defeat. Saravine looked at him. You are not like the others. I get that a lot, Elias said. The 3rd challenge was the hardest. It was not drinking or riddles, it was silence. The bed of Dominion's surface glowed brighter as the AI spoke again. Final challenge of the night, the vigil. This was the oldest part of the rite. 2 people sat facing each other in silence until dawn. No words, no movement, no showing weakness. It was a test of control, of who blinks, twitches, or breaks first. Some called it the battle of stillness. Elias sat down cross-legged on the black stone. Saravine did the same opposite him. The lights dimmed, leaving only the silver glow between them. For a long time, neither moved. At first, it was easy. Elias had trained in military stillness, hours in trenches waiting for the enemy. But then the elixir began to work. The walls started to ripple. The sound of his own heartbeat grew louder. This was how the Alarians broke minds. They didn't use force. They let silence eat at the brain. Saravine sat perfectly still. Her golden eyes stared at him like a hawk watching prey. She had done this dozens of times before. No one had ever lasted past 3 hours. But Elias was not a court prisoner. He was a soldier. He had spent nights in frozen foxholes on Europa. He had stared at death without blinking, so he stared back. Minutes turned to hours. Outside nobles began to whisper. He should have twitched by now, one said. He should have broken, said another, but the human didn't. As time passed, something else happened. Saravine felt strange. Usually she enjoyed the silence. It made her feel like a queen over insects, but now she felt like she was staring at a mirror she couldn't control. The human's face was calm. Not proud, not broken. Just there, solid, steady, unshakable. She tried to rattle him. She leaned forward slightly, a tiny movement. A test, he didn't react. She narrowed her eyes, letting the gold light flash in them. No reaction. She whispered softly in Alarian. Break. Nothing. She exhaled slowly. This man was different. Outside the chamber, the alien nobles grew uneasy. The rite was supposed to be a display of Alarian superiority, but hour after hour passed. The human refused to falter, even when the elixir twisted the walls, even when fatigue tried to drag his eyes down. One of the nobles whispered, "He endures like a stone." Another muttered, "No human has ever lasted this long." The high priest of the rite frowned. "He does not follow the pattern." Inside, Elias focused on a single point, the glowing rune between them. He blocked out everything else. He remembered his training on Titan. Don't listen to fear. Don't follow the noise. Hold the line. Sweat began to form on his neck. His muscles ached. But he didn't move. Hours passed, and then something changed. For the first time, Saravine blinked. A small, tiny blink, but in the silence of the chamber it was like thunder. Elias didn't smile, didn't flinch. He simply met her gaze again as if nothing happened. She froze. No one had ever made her blink first. The AI's voice rang through the chamber. Dominion vigil unbroken. Human. Victorious. The viewing hall exploded in noise. Nobles stood shouting in shock and disbelief. The princess of the Dominion had lost a part of the rite, for the first time in history, to a human. Saravine stood slowly. Her breath came heavier than she wanted to show. She had not been truly defeated, there were still points to count, but this moment was historic. She had underestimated him. Elias rose too. His body was tired, but his eyes were steady. She stepped closer, stopping just a breath away. She was taller than him, golden eyes bright in the low light. For a moment no one spoke. Then she whispered, not for the crowd, but for him alone. "You are dangerous." Elias answered softly, "No, just human." Her lips curved slightly, not into a full smile, but something close. "I begin to see why your kind did not die so easily." Outside, chaos spread through the palace. The nobles whispered, argued, panicked. The rite was meant to humiliate him. Instead, it had made him a symbol, a human who stood in the bed of dominion and did not bend. The sun was still hours from rising, but already the story was spreading across the dominion. The princess blinked first, and Saravine knew, whatever happened next, history had shifted. The bed of dominion had never seen a night like this, and humanity had never been closer to standing as equals. The first light of dawn spilled through the palace towers of the Alarian dominion. The golden glow touched the crystal walls and turned them into rivers of fire. Outside the ritual chamber, nobles filled the great hall like a stormy sea. They had stayed awake all night, waiting for the human to break. But the night had ended, and the human still stood. Commander Elias Kane walked out of the chamber with his shoulders straight. He was pale from exhaustion. His uniform was damp with sweat, but his eyes burned steady. Behind him, Princess Saravine followed in silence. She wore the same blue robe, but her expression had changed. The sharp arrogance was gone. Now there was something else in her golden eyes, something sharper, deeper. The nobles began to whisper. He didn't fall. He lasted the whole rite. He made the princess blink first. No Terran has ever done that. The sound rolled through the hall like wind through iron. The high priest of the Dominion stepped forward. His silver robe trailed behind him like water. His face was calm, but his voice trembled slightly as he spoke. "The rite of the bed is complete," he said. "Both participants endured the trials. But the vigil was broken by the princess." A shock went through the nobles. The word broken had weight. It meant something more than a lost round. It meant that for the first time in Alarian history, the princess of the Dominion had lost part of the ancient ritual. Elias didn't say anything. He simply stood there, breathing slowly. His silence was louder than any speech. Saravine's advisor stepped forward. "The record is clear. The human has earned the right's respect." The high priest lifted his staff. The treaty core, a glowing silver sphere, rose from the floor. Its surface shifted and glimmered with alien letters. "By Alarian law," the priest said, "a victor of the right earns standing equal to the royal house. He cannot be humiliated. He cannot be treated as lesser. His people share that honor." The nobles gasped. This was never supposed to happen. The right was a tool for the Dominion to show strength, not share it. No one had ever imagined a human winning part of it. But the treaty core didn't care about shock. It only obeyed the law. The staff struck the floor. The silver sphere pulsed like a heartbeat. Elias Kane, human commander. Honor equal to the royal house of Ilaris. The words appeared in glowing letters for everyone to see. Princess Saravine stepped forward. She stood face to face with Elias in front of the entire court. Her voice carried like music across the golden hall. "I claimed your honor as victor of war," she said, "but I found no broken man. I found someone who stood against the Dominion and did not bend." Elias said nothing. He didn't need to. She looked at the crowd, then back at him. "I demanded your submission," she said slowly. "But you gave me a challenge, one that no one in this court has ever dared to give." The nobles were silent now. Every word she spoke became a hammer on their pride. "I could refuse to honor this result," she continued. "I could claim human weakness, but that would be a lie, and the Dominion does not lie to itself." Then, in a move no one expected, the princess dropped to one knee. The hall exploded with noise. Nobles shouted, some in anger, some in shock, some in awe. A royal kneeling was unheard of. It was a gesture reserved only for equals, or gods. Saravine looked up at Elias, still kneeling. "Let it be recorded. Humanity did not fall. Humanity stood. And for that, I kneel." Elias didn't move for a long moment. His heart pounded in his chest. He wasn't a king or emperor. He was a soldier, a tired soldier who had just survived a night meant to break him. But now he stood at the center of history. Slowly he extended his hand to her, not to rule her, but to pull her back to her feet. Saravine's fingers closed around his. The hall fell silent again. The high priest struck the floor once more. "By the power of the right," he declared, "the Dominion recognizes humanity as a people of iron will. The treaty shall be rewritten with new terms, no longer a defeated species, but an equal partner." One of the old nobles shouted, "Blasphemy! They are lesser. They are Terrans!" Another noble answered, "They endured the bed of Dominion. They cannot be called lesser anymore." Voices rose. The court divided like a cracked mirror. Elias turned to face them. "I didn't come here to be worshipped," he said, his voice calm but strong. "And I didn't come here to kneel. I came to make sure my people are treated with respect. We bled for this galaxy too. We fought, we endured. We earned our place." The nobles went quiet again. Saravine looked at him. "You speak boldly. Humans always do." She gave a faint smile, something rare and dangerous. "Perhaps that is why you are still here." The hours that followed were full of fire. The nobles gathered in council. The princess defended the result, standing firm against the old houses. Some wanted to void the right. Others wanted to pretend it never happened. But the treaty core was a witness. Its record could not be erased. If they broke their own laws, the Dominion would fracture from the inside. Finally, after long arguments and whispers, the council accepted the result. Humanity would not be treated as a defeated race. They would gain trade rights, embassy rights, and a permanent seat on the Dominion's High Council. For the first time, Terrans would have a voice among the stars. That evening, after the council dispersed, Elias walked alone through the palace gardens. The trees here glowed softly in the dark, their branches swaying without wind. The night air was warm, quiet. He felt the exhaustion settle into his bones. His hands still trembled from the long vigil. He sat on a stone bench and let out a slow breath. "You do not rest," came a voice behind him. He turned. Saravine stood at the edge of the garden, her robe flowing like a shadow in the soft light. She walked toward him with the slow, confident steps of someone who no longer looked down on him. "You won," she said. "No," Elias replied. "We didn't win. We just didn't lose." She tilted her head slightly. "That is not how my people will tell the story." Elias chuckled softly. "Stories never sound like the truth." She sat down across from him, not above him. "You changed everything tonight. Do you understand that?" He looked at the glowing trees. "I didn't do it to change your world. I did it so my people could walk through it with their heads high." Her golden eyes lingered on him for a long moment. "You are not like other humans," he gave a tired smile. "Most humans aren't like other humans." She actually laughed, soft, quiet, but real. "I think I will enjoy watching your species confuse mine." A messenger approached with a bow. "Princess," he said, "the council has signed the new treaty." Saravine nodded and dismissed him. Then she turned back to Elias. "This bond," she said slowly, "is not of chains or fear. It is of respect. But respect must be tested often." Elias met her gaze. "Then we'll keep earning it." The next day, news of the rite spread across the galaxy. On human ships, soldiers cheered. On distant colonies, people raised their glasses to the name Elias Kane. On alien worlds, whispers grew into stories. The Terran who made the princess kneel. The human who would not bow. Iron in the face of stars. It wasn't just a story about one man. It became a story about all of humanity, a reminder to every empire, every race. Humans may be small, may be young, may bleed easily, but they do not break easily. In the throne room, as Elias prepared to leave, Saravine stopped him. "Before you return to your people," she said, "I want to say something." He turned. "What?" She stepped closer. "Last night, when I said you will share my bed tonight, I thought it would end with your defeat. Now I know better." He raised an eyebrow. "Regretting it?" Her smile was thin and sharp. "No, I think I may have chosen the right human." For the first time since he stepped into this palace, Elias laughed. A tired, real laugh. "Careful, Princess. Humans have a bad habit of ruining expectations. I look forward to it," she said softly. As he walked toward the shuttle bay, Elias paused to look back at the shining palace. The place that was meant to humiliate him had become the stage for something bigger. He didn't just survive the rite. He changed what it meant to be human in this galaxy. That night, among the stars, the Dominion and humanity became something new. Not enemies. Not conqueror and conquered, but rivals and equals. And though many would try to test that bond again, the legend of the human who would not bow would remain a warning to every proud empire. Never underestimate a human.